Yeah, hi there, this is tuxdocker.com again. Welcome on my video channel. Today in this little video I want to report on a slider I bought, a motorized slider from Neewer. That is this one. And that is the Neewer VS80WC. That is a 80 centimeter motorized slider, which I bought from Amazon. The slider is around between 300 and 350 euros, which is, in my opinion, not too bad as a price for a motorized slider. But the first one I got was return, I guess, and after playing around with the slider for about, let's say, an hour or an hour and a half, the motor was silent and didn't make anything anymore, so I had to return it. The second one I got was okay, and so let's take a look what's in the box. As you can see, there is quite a lot of equipment coming with the slider. That is, of course, the slider itself, a little ball head. Okay, what might not be the best one, but in my tests, it's good enough for the Lumix S5. You got batteries for it, a battery charger, and a whole bunch of release cables, like this one here. There are different cables for Nikon, Canon, and so on. And there also was a cable provided for Lumix cameras, but this cable only had two black rings around the connector. And that led into that on the time-lapse mode, the Lumix S5 was not capturing stills photography, it was capturing all the time small video clips. But I solved that and bought a little cable from JJC. I put a link in the video description so you can use that just in case you have a Lumix S5. Where Neewer itself, I contacted them, said that this cable provided with the slider is not compatible with the Lumix S5. As I said, the set comes with batteries and a charging device. And as you can see here, that is the battery for the remote control. And just like the motor itself and the slider, they work with Sony NPF compatible batteries, which is quite good. You got already the two smaller ones provided with the slider, but you can also use the bigger ones, 970s or 960 batteries, if you want to take longer clips. You have a rail in the middle, which you can either turn away or turn towards you, so you can change between pan mode and tracking mode. And that is pretty convenient, so you can track your object and take a short video clip, sort of at least moving around the object. But then you have to test this out because the angle, which you can now reproducible set on the newer slider, because they have a scale now, depends on the distance to the object and of course the used focal length. As you might know, that is the remote control, and that seems a little bit big and yeah, pretty old-fashioned, but it's working, because I didn't want to have a version which is also available, which uses your smartphone as a remote control. And there's another version, I think, with a cable remote control, but I didn't want to have that one. So I choose that version, and that works pretty good. The connection is done via wireless WLAN Wi-Fi as soon as you insert the batteries into both the Neewer slider and the remote control, and so far that works without any issues. In contrast to other sliders or the older versions, where you had to set the A and B point or the ends of the slider manually, this one automatically set both points as soon as you insert the battery. The slider begins to move and moves towards the one end and then towards the other end, and then sets both points. Of course, in the remote control, you can change those points if you need it. Okay, here you got the remote control. Here you got the remote control. The first item of the menu is live motion, and that is, of course, the video section. If you press that, you can either choose if this movement is done in a continuous loop and if this should ramp to the endpoints. Then you have the opportunity to set manual over on, where you can move manually, and then you can, of course, can switch the starting point to B in this case, and you can set the duration time. Here the 28 seconds you see, that is the shortest time for a complete movement for the 80 centimeters, and of course you can alter this to duration time within hours if you want that. If you want a faster movement, you have to accomplish that one in the post-production, which can be easily done, and so far I didn't have any issues with that. Here you got another feature. On the top you see the battery status from both the slider and of course the remote control. And the left one is the battery status of the motorized sliders, and of course that one will drain the battery a little bit more than this simple remote control here. Okay, if we press that, let's say for 3 seconds, it returns to the main menu. Then we got the time-lapse options, and that is where I said I did have to buy the other cable release. At first you can set the interval. Let's tick here to the 10 seconds, and then the exposure time. Of course, I would advise you to do the exposure via the exposure function in your camera, but this exposure time is interesting for the device to calculate the complete time and the intervals between two stops, because here in this case we now have 2 seconds, and if I want to change that, let's press it. We don't want hours. We have maybe just seconds. Maybe we set this to 6 seconds here. If we have a night exposure, let's say we do 10. And you can see here that the interval time is automatically added. So the system calculates around 4 seconds for the movement between two stops and adds the interval time to it. So you then get the complete time for the duration for between two shots, and then it calculates, of course, the complete time here in the last section of this menu. Okay, the remote control seems to be a little bit, yeah, let's say old-fashioned, but it's working pretty good so far. And you have the movement between 2 points or time-lapse. You can here set pretty precisely in the function for time-lapse, calculating the complete time, including the time for the exposure and including the time to move between 2 points and have time enough so that the camera can settle for shaking and so on. That's pretty well done from Neewer. The Neewer slider itself has 4 little feet where you can set it on a plain ground, like a plain surface, like here a desk or something like that. And if, of course, it has a 1/4 and 3/8-inch threads, so you can mount it on any tripod. But don't forget the weight for the camera. If the camera with the lens is at the other side of the slider. That's pretty heavy, so most tripods won't do that. So you have the opportunity to mount 2 tripods underneath the sliders, so it will be a more stable, so the whole setup will be more stable. But as you can see here, I also bought myself a Kia video tripod, which is able to carry this combination, even if the camera moves to the outer end of the slider, and only at the outer end the leveling of the camera gets out of green to yellow, which means that it's a little bit more than 1 degree out of the level. And in the videos you don't see that actually. So I have a combination where I can set this up with the one tripod only, because 2 tripods, that was a little bit complicated. Okay, that was my little review on the Neewer slider. So far I didn't do an actual time lapse so far, I just tested it, but I think I will do that for sure the next time. And if you have any questions to this, you might as well place those questions in the comments or in the comments of the corresponding blog post. And if this video was a little bit helpful to you, you might think about placing a like on the video. And I surely would appreciate if you subscribe my channel, but then don't forget to hit the bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Okay, that was my review on the Neewer 80cm motorized slider. And all I have to say, till the next time, ciao, tux oche.